I put together early this year, put together a bonsai bench in behind, sort of a two-tiered. So it's been up all year. Various plants have been on there. I tend to like to keep them on the ground. I think the root temperature is more consistent. Although one of the things I found is, which is nice about putting them up on the bench, is that they dry out much faster, and so you get better airflow and air to water ratios. But and especially some of my trees that are newerly transplanted last year, for instance, they're just in not the best dirt, not very good drainage, so it's good for them to get dried out, so I can really sort of get that water ratio right. But what I'll do is I'll give you a little tour of some of the trees that I've collected over the year, whether they're nursery or pulled out of the ground, or well, yeah, I guess those are the two ways I get them. Oh, I guess I cloned them. Let's start with this one. This is one of those willows. So doing great. Nice big pot, pretty thick base. Who knows what I'm going to do with that? I might just chop it back down. Not really sure. Here's the Trembling Aspen forest that I made. When I collected the Trembling Aspens, this is what I had in mind. Now, unlike some of my other ones, they haven't shot up other little, because they're a colony, meaning they're one tree, other little shoots, which is a little worrisome. It did shoot out growth. Seems pretty strong. Well, I don't know, it's pretty strong. It seems like there's little buds forming, so I'm hopeful for this, because I just love this Trembling Aspen forest. It's I just love it. Unfortunately, my pot is cracking a bit here and here. Not sure if that's just the pressure or how I made it at the time, but yeah, I just love that one. Down here's the Rosemary. So I did a video of this not long ago. It's doing really well, shooting out lots of growth. So I transplanted and trimmed it and styled it, and what was it, mid-August? But luckily, maybe even late, it's doing great. So I'm really happy with that. A subalpine fir, haven't styled it, but you can see it's just loving life. It's gotten triple buds. Nice curve to this, sort of a bigger one there, and then over. So this one I need to cut out a ton of branches. It's branch select, and then I think bring them right down. So it needs a much more slender look, and maybe even the top will come down to about here. A little forest planting, everything's growing, doing well. It's last week of September, so almost October. So this is natural that it's just dying off, but we'll see how it overwinters. But it's really coming along. This is one of my first trees I got. It's super thin. This is like all on one plane. So I might just kind of keep continuing that up and have this sort of crazy, what do you call this? Like trunks, flat trunks, almost like roots coming up. And then, I need to bring it down. But yeah, this is root over rock. So it was kind of cool when I got that out. There's a nice root, and it's like I said, it's just doing great. I did transplant into a bigger container. The container's too big, but it's still in training. Here's the Cascade Juniper. It's doing great now. I had wired out this lower branch, so there was growth all on here, and a lot of this was this year's growth. And so I really realized, like, if you wire that green when it hasn't hardened, I just don't think the cambium layer is strong enough and just does too much damage, so it died. I've done that before in other trees, not so much with Cascades. So yeah, it's something to think about when you're wiring. Keep that new growth untouched. But it's taken off. Like, it's just taken right off. So this might be a new leader. This could be some dead wood coming down, but like I said, it's just doing great. And I love you can't see the trunk line in there, but the trunk line is really, really nice. So I'm really actually happy with this. This is like actually one of my first sort of Cascades, but you can see it's just way overgrown. Nice little white pine from last year. It's got a few firs kind of sticking out of here, but it's just growing along. you know, this is just a tree that needs a lot of development. Super straight trunk, so, and not that thick, so it's nothing too spectacular. I made this nice wood pot with these little sort of steps, kind of artistic in some way, and yeah, I'm just happy to see that it's doing really well. So, you know, at some point it'll need a styling. I think I got to start thinking of these bar branches. So maybe next year I take there, you know, just give it, maybe start bringing them down and turning them up. Not sure, it's still quite early for that. Lodgepole, just kind of growing along. I've had this one since early last spring. Again, don't know what to do with this one. You know, it's getting some nice buds up top. Maybe I'll have to be some sort of literati style, but one of my early trees. So we'll see. This is probably my best tree. And it's growing super vigorous. I don't know if you can see this, but just the movement, something else. So that tree I am gonna have to make much more sparse and pull. I mean, the branch is already coming down, so I think it's really just trimming and then deciding how tall I want the tree. You know, like proportionally with the taper, it's good, and the apex is just insanely strong. So I'll have to cut the vigor off of that to allow to bring branch growth down below. I am thinking I will probably transplant this next year, although I would like to stay in it. It's just the dirt is not good at all. So I probably will transplant this next year. Shimpaku juniper. Got this from the nursery. Just put it in a pot. This is a pallet box, so I just get pallets and then just get the old skill saw out and make little boxes out of it. But the growth is really good. The growth has got really good. So I transplanted this again, I want to say August 1st or something. So not the best time, but it was in the pot and it was just root bound. So it's taken really well. But you can see just great movement, but old tree. For the price I paid, just couldn't pass it up. So I kind of cleaned it out a bunch, let light in the interior, but it's gonna need a serious trim next year. Just a little fur. This one actually is the color was slightly not as green as the other ones, and so I think it was sort of dying. So I transplanted it, and it was in just the worst dirt, muck, like ever. I mean, luckily this is another tree. It's growing good, and you might be able to see the difference between that. It's just greener, and it's just the buds are swelling more. Now there are buds on here swelling, so I'm hopeful for that tree, but we'll see. It's growing well. Again, this is one of those late transplants, but it's just growing. There's this nice long branch, so we'll have to see what to do with that. Again, here's the part where I wired the tip and it died off, so I think it was just too much pressure on that new growth, because everything else did really well. So I really do think it was the wire. Let's see what next. Okay, this is the spruce from early in the year. So, you know, when I got it, I seen that and I go, okay, there's just this nice clump coming out, and I love these trees coming out. They're all alive. Well, this one's not, but there's 4 in there and they're all doing really well. But this it's a bit of an eyesore. So it is in a training bonsai pot, but pretty thick. I may be able to bring the dirt up to here, which just kind of gives it this clump feel. But I love this tree. This one is amazing and produced nice new growth. This is all new growth. It's a little bit yellow compared to some of my other ones, so that's a little worrisome. I have had it in quite a bit of sun, so that will do it. But yeah, and you know, this just needs to be thinned out. You want to be able to see these trunks. This is going to be a great style for next year. But yeah, it just needs to be thinned out a bunch. I think probably brought down. Juniper got from the nursery. I watched this old Chimera video. He had this big, long, huge juniper, and it basically just had branches at the top, and that's what this one had. So we're actually looking at the back side of it. Let's see if I can get the front side of it. So this is the angle that I'm hoping at. There's some deadwood features here. Hi, kitty. Some deadwood features here, and really nice movement up. Gets kind of swells right in here. So what I did is I took all these branches and just brought them down, almost like I don't know, just drooped them over. And then what I think you do, and this is what I think Chimera was doing, but who knows, right? I mean, this is the master, who knows what he was thinking. And it wasn't the greatest tree for him to demo on. I should have given him a nicer tree. But then you turn all of these into little pads. And so it's not like little branches are coming out, it comes down, and then there's pads all the way along. So that's kind of my idea for this one. Now this one, like, I repotted it, wired it quite a bit, but not too much. And you know, it's growing, but it's all juvenile. So it clearly got quite stressed from that. Another cedar, or not cedar, sorry, spruce. This one's greener. This one was the one collected right beside the side of the road. And it was just covered in dust. But it had gotten nice movement from the snowplow, and something had topped it at one point. So it kind of comes up into two trunks there. But nice movement for that tree. And I will just start bringing these branches down. And again, clearing it out, right? Getting rid of the bar branches, anywhere where there's 3 or 4. But you know, luckily, unlike a Mugo, it doesn't produce 5 right from the one spot. White pine, love this tree. You get really attached to certain trees. I love the white pines. It's a western white pine, 5 needle, and the bark is just white, maybe hence part of the name. But really soft. They just seem so soft. So this one, you know, but long, leggy branches. I might, you know, I can probably get some back budding, like maybe next year on some of these, so if I don't touch it. So, but I might pull it down, and I don't know. You know, it would look like a bit like a spaghetti tree if I tried to use those branches. So it might be a longer term project where I just grow these out, hope for some back budding, and then cut back to whatever I get on the inside. Like that one's not so bad. Another little, what is this, little juniper. Again, just sort of wired it a bit up. Let's see if we can get a better shot of that. I want to say I paid $20 for this. So really nice old, you know, it's a cutting, and it had some nice movement. Oh, it's biting in quite a bit there. I'm gonna have to get that off. But yeah, you know, like this branch died. Let's see, is it because I wired? I think maybe might have bit in too much there. You know, made some dead wood. We'll see. This one needs a lot of work. It's just starting. But you know, I transplanted it and wired it all in the same year, and I want to say I did this in the middle of August, maybe middle of July, so like maybe the worst time after I did that nursery buy. So another spruce. Oh, this one I love. Look at this. It's so similar. I mean, this one wasn't an alpine. Was it? Oh, maybe it was. This might have been something in the alpine. Yeah, I think it was. To get that, you almost need that. It looks a lot like the trunks of the fir, just the way that they're bent, and then it sort of bubbles. But it's an Engelmann spruce. Now it's produced some growth, not a lot, at the tip. So I'm a little bit worried about this one, but the buds are looking good. and I've had it in here for a long time. So, you know, if it can survive the winter, which I think it will, this should be just a beautiful, beautiful tree. A Mugo I got. Let's keep going. Here's a Mugo. Look at what happens to the Mugos. Hey, they just bulk. This is just a nursery stock. I think I paid 20. I liked this sort of base and up and around. It has a lot of like kind of character in here. And I transplanted it, took some of the branches off. And it's producing nice new buds for next year, but it's gonna need a lot of work, and I don't know what to do with all of this, right? So it might be just like take off all of this, take off all of that, and this becomes the first branch, or maybe I take that off and this becomes the first branch, take this off, or actually probably keep that one. You know, it just needs a lot of work, but I bought 2 of these, just sort of for decent enough trunks, and the price was right. But yeah, I have this problem, so. Larch, oh, I love larch, just so amazing. Buds everywhere. Yeah, this is a tree I collected last spring. And so it's just taken off. Nope, I haven't trimmed it or anything, just letting it grow, letting it get really, really strong. Little maple, trimmed it there, grew up. Let's see. Here's that hemlock. That's that video I did just recently. Let's see, another maple back there. You just saw this in the last video if you saw it. But this is another larch. I'm pretty sure I got this year, and look, it just got fried at some point in there. But there's lots of little buds, and some of them are looking pretty shiny, which is nice. Means they're probably going to grow, and it actually produced quite a bit of growth like late in the year. So we'll see how that one does. You know, I've been told that they don't like heating up, they don't like sitting up on the benches, so having the pots, especially the black ones, up on there is probably not a great idea.